Hey guys, in my last video we talked about Harry Styles' new song Watermelon Sugar and some of the ways that I felt maybe it could have been done a little bit better. And while the vast majority of the feedback from you guys was overwhelmingly positive, a number of you brought up some really great points. So as we dive a little more into this realm of kind of analyzing some more popular music and maybe exploring ways that we could make changes on it, I thought it'd be cool to talk about a few things in regards to sort of my approach to music and what my goals are for making videos analyzing other people's music, as well as why sometimes musicians like myself can often be snobs about music. So first and foremost, my main goal with analyzing any music at all, if there's something that to my ear I feel like, yeah, maybe this could have been done differently, my hopes are maybe to submit some of those ideas to you guys with the ideal net gain being that collectively we can push music as a whole, no matter the genre, in a positive direction. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's fundamentally broken, it just means that, hey, here's something, whether we think it's good or not, how can we make it better? And that leads us into an area where, fortunately, music is subjective, and some people like some things and they don't like other things. An idea that I or anybody else suggests as a way to make something better might very well be turning it into garbage to someone else. The fact that we can have those differences in what we like to hear is a good thing because it just opens up the plane musically for people to try all sorts of different things and come up with new things that nobody's ever heard before. Inevitably, when we're talking about things that maybe could be improved upon, but also entering into that territory at all brings up the fact that musicians can often be snobby or elitist about music, or sometimes going maybe a little too hard on things that don't really deserve to be gone that hard on. Musically useless. I can't speak for any other musicians, but what I can speak from is my own experience. I started studying jazz when I was 14, and very, very early on, I made the grave mistake of conflating complexity with quality. From a very early point, I thought that anything that was not jazz was just garbage. I wasn't really that pleasant to be around because of it. I didn't want to listen to anything else. I would talk down other kinds of music just because they were of a certain genre. I was truly an elitist and a snob. When I went to music school, one of the first things that I noticed was that my classmates and my professors and basically everybody around me, they were always talking with such admiration about genres of music that I had been looking down upon up until that point. And at first it caught me off guard because I thought to myself, like, you guys we're all jazz musicians here. Like, why are you listening to this other stuff? Or why are you talking like this other thing is good? How could it possibly be good? It's not jazz. It's not what we do. It's not the highest level of, whatever. But seeing all that around me really forced me to kind of look at music in a different way and say, what's going on here? Like, why are these people listening to these genres and talking about them so positively? I thought they were devoid of quality and complexity and devoid of anything good. And to hear the way that they would talk about different types of music, it really forced me to listen to those types of music from a different perspective. And that is when my entire world changed forever. All of a sudden, I heard music that I had never heard before. I heard it in a way that I had never heard it. And I heard it with ears that were open to hearing things that I previously had written off as being just not good. I learned about the subjectivity of music, why people are drawn to certain types of music, how different people hear different types of music totally differently. And let me tell you something, the whole world got a lot bigger and a lot more satisfying at that exact moment. Because all of a sudden it wasn't about music being good because it was of one genre or another. It was about music being just either good or not good. And furthermore, that definition is subjective to everyone. I think musicians like myself can sometimes be snobby or elitist in some ways because a lot of the way that I looked at music at that time was derivative of frustration that more people didn't know about what I liked or didn't appreciate what I liked. I was looking at it from the perspective of nobody listens to jazz. Why? Everyone should listen to jazz. Here's this thing that I love and I can tell you why it's so great and what makes it so incredible and so complex and so full of rich musical information and all the reasons I love it. I was like, those are reasons why everyone should listen to this and only this and everything else is trash. The everything else is trash part was born out of this frustration that No one cared. No one cared that I liked jazz. It didn't make anyone else care about jazz. It didn't make anyone else change what they liked or didn't like. And at the time, 15-year-old me, that was frustrating. And so I would take it out on other music by suggesting that it was somehow inferior. I feel like I've grown a lot from that point, and I've learned a lot, and it's been incredible because I now love so many different types of music. I'm certain that I'm never going to be fully devoid of a tendency to occasionally sound snobby about music, but my goal is always to take the education that I have received from people far better than me and try to apply it in such a way that it can maybe suggest things to ultimately push music, popular music, whatever, in a positive direction. And so many of you made really good points about my critique of Harry Styles' new song. And it got me thinking about a lot of this. Things like, well, isn't music supposed to be about breaking the rules and testing new boundaries? And yeah, that's a really good point. And personally, for me, with that particular song, I don't think that's what they were trying to do. And I still think that the execution could have been a lot better. But also, that doesn't mean that I can't say I really like the product as a whole. And it doesn't mean that other people can't say that they don't like the product as a whole. But ultimately, you know, like I said, I can't speak for any other musicians, and I can only speak from my own experience. But if you are anything like me and you have felt this sort of blanket frustration towards popular music or mainstream music or whatever you want to call it, I think that maybe, and I'm certainly going to try myself, to always look at it from a perspective of how can we push this in a positive direction, maybe make small changes or suggestions or just put out ideas of our own that we feel could improve music as a whole, which doesn't include talking down other genres of music without also suggesting ways to build them up. And at the end of the day, you could also pose the question of, does any of it matter anyways? Because people's tastes are people's tastes, and they're very, very different from one another. And that's how we wind up with so many different kinds of music that are so different from one another. And that's a great thing for the world of music as a whole. The video has easily surpassed my most viewed video in the first 24 hours, which is equal parts exciting, but also kind of depressing in a way. Because yeah, I mean, the title has kind of a negative connotation. I'm being critical in the video, and for some reason, that seems to be the thing that attracts people the most, even if a lot of the time it's so that people can give their own counter arguments. But it kind of leaves me thinking about, you know, media in general, and especially the news, and why it is so negative. And I guess in a way I just kind of experienced that a little bit. That's a path that I don't want to go down, because if you've been around my channel at all, you'll know that I try to keep things very positive. That's something that I never want to get away from, because I don't know, I just feel like there's enough negativity in the world, and I don't really want to add to that. I think I can contribute constructive criticism without necessarily adding to a lot of negativity, but it was sort of just an illustrating point about how the more strong opinion, especially if it's controversial, something is, the more it's gonna get clicked on. And I suppose it's just kind of one of those unfortunate realities about the online world. I absolutely am not taking that as evidence to say, oh, I just need to be more of a dick and more people will click on my videos. Like, I have no interest in that. I'm not. In fact, to the extent that I've now put out a couple of videos reacting to some popular music in a critical way, my next video is going to be exactly the opposite of that. I'm going to go through something that I really, really enjoy and point out what I think makes it really great. And my hope is to ultimately help push music as a whole in a positive direction in some way. Whatever tiny, small impact I can have. Anyway, so as we look into more and more music, I just wanted to sort of lay out what I'm hoping to accomplish and trying to better understand types of music that maybe I don't know as much about or that I don't prefer as much. Because the one thing that I have learned in all of my years studying, performing, practicing, is that the more music that's out there that you are able to take in and enjoy and really find the good parts about, the more satisfying the world is. So let me know in the comments below what music you'd like to hear my reactions to, whether you enjoy it and you want me to hear it, or there's something frustrating to you about it and you'd like me to maybe look at it myself and talk a little bit about it. As always, thank you so much for checking out this video, and I'll see you in the next one.